It is a roar to recognize on Motor City Sports Talk, The Roar. I'm Justin Valentine, and I am going out to Warren, where we want to highlight the Cousino Patriots boys soccer team. And for that, I'm bringing in first-year head coach Jordan Wilczak. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me today.
Good stuff, man. Hey, so first-year coach, you had some goals. We posted it that you had some goals going in. Talk about on a real kind of mindset going into the season. Again, first year coach, coaching high school coaches, in my opinion, don't get enough credit compared to obviously once you get higher up, the type of credit that coaches get at the higher levels. You're dealing with high school students. There's a lot more that can coaching and teaching that can go into that. As a first year coach, where were your personal expectations going in compared on where you ended up, which we'll get to in a moment?
Okay. So to go back last year, I was an assistant coach for varsity soccer, and we went 0-9-1.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting rid of the coach that they had last year, and they hired a different gentleman for the job. Something happened where this gentleman couldn't accept it. So me being assistant, they reached out to me, and I had my interview with the principal and the AD, and they offered me the position. So I had a short leash to begin with a late notice. So with that being said, since I was around last year, I knew the talent that they had, and I think that's one of the things that won the AD and the principal over in the interview. Mm-hmm. So me going into the year, knowing that the talent that we had, the first goal was to win the MAC Blue. Okay.
Yep.
Last year, the team 0-9-1. They got a year older. We only had 4 seniors, so extremely young team.
Mm-hmm.
And in this year, I knew MAC Blue will be able to accomplish that, and we did. We went out there. Our division record was 7-1-2.
Yep.
And going into next year, we have a very strong foundation to build on. And I believe we had 4 to 5 freshmen also on the roster, 2 of which were starting for us. So that's even more intriguing for the program.
That's huge because now you bring more experience year after year as you go in. 10-6-3 was the record. You mentioned MAC Blue champs. Now, early on in the season, winless in 4 of your first 5. You mentioned the record that was last season. Where was the biggest turnaround you saw in the players in the team to overcome last season's struggles for those that were there, along with the slow start to this season to get to where they got to?
Yeah, so the slow start, we have some players that visit their families overseas in the summer, and they don't come back till around, first week of school. Some of them even miss, the first days of school. So we had about 3 players that are starters for us that we did not have. So that could play into us having a slow start. One of the things I think that we improved on from last year with the team that we had this year, number one is to come in from the kids. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, those were the days that we practice because we have games usually on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Sometimes we don't have a game on Friday. Mm-hmm. But number one thing was commitment. In the summer, they were up there running the track, playing with each other. And then when we got the coaches involved on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we would have film from 4 o'clock to 5:30, and then have practice 5:37. So it takes away time from their family and friends, and it's a large commitment from them. But that's the attitude that you need in order to win and make the progress that they showed. So number one thing, commitment. They wanted to win, and they knew what it took to win. The second thing, just about. Oh, go ahead. Yep. The second.
Continue on.
The second thing, I say bonding. When you're losing a lot of games, it's hard to mesh and gel as a team. So some games you're not going to get the results that you want, but at the same time, having a slow start, that put us in a position where we know how good we are, but how bad we're playing. Sure. And we know that feeling of defeat from the year prior and to start the season. So going into that first game against Berkeley, I believe we lost 3 or 4-0. To open the season, they were the number ranked third in state or 5th. So they were somewhere in the top 5.
Sure.
So for us to be in that game, we held them to 1 goal in the second half, and we played a lot better than we did in the first half. So going on from there, foundation was building. Played a very good team. Ended up playing Lakeview Tower. Those were grinders. We lost one, we tied one, but each game was something different. First game, very talented team, one of the top teams in the state. Okay, we can play with these guys. Tower, just there were circumstances that we couldn't control, but they scored in the second half. We blew 2 leads. So the game that we took away from Lakeview is that just because you take a lead, you can't take your foot off the pedal. You have to play the entire game. Every time you score, it's in your head, it should be 0-0. You never want to be up and just take your foot off the gas. So from Berkeley to Tower to Lakeview, us starting the season like that, I think really helped in each different way of losing.
Now, going now from your point of view, that's everything great that the team did to turn around. Again, as a first-year coach, it's always great at the high school level to accomplish something that you did as a first-year coach. What type of messages and what type of strategies personally did you turn to after a slow start to help that team make the turnarounds that they did?
So I was just playing. For me personally, I watched the film. I noticed that I was playing players in positions that weren't suiting their strengths. So personally, I went back, watched the film, got out my notepad, started writing down different formations where I could plug and play different players, and it was a feeling out process. So just strategizing going into the games, down the road, I finally found a formation that suited the team. Throughout the course of the season, we went through 3 to 4 different formations until we finally found the one that worked. Yeah. So that played a big factor. And then just playing to their strengths. Our team's not on the bigger side, they're on the smaller side. And we don't have that much speed. But what we do have is players that are good with their feet. Okay. So if your players are good with your feet, then you want to play the ball to their feet, pass and move heads and try running onto it, but they weren't fast enough. So making them realize and practice the types of practices that we started having was more intense, more intensity in practice, a lot more possession, 2-touch max, get the ball and get off your foot, move. Yep. And I think that played a huge factor in playing to their strengths as the season went on.
So you talked about your goals coming into this season, got the MAC Blue, fell short in districts, got an 8-0 win over Roseville, 2-1 loss to Lakeview. As you go into your second season, you talked about the young players that you had that are returning, the talent that you have, more experience is coming. How do your goals change a bit as you head into the second season? What do you expect?
So what do I expect? That's a good question. I actually had an end of season coaches meeting yesterday, and in high school sports and specifically soccer, you have your MAC red, your MAC white, your MAC blue, your MAC, I think, silver and gold. And every 2 years they realign the divisions. For the teams that are doing great, stay where they're at. Yeah. So, for example, in the MAC blue, the next step would be to go up to the MAC white. But since they just did the realignment this past year, we have to be in the MAC blue one more year. Gotcha. What I want personally, though, is I understand that it's not an alignment year, but I'm pushing to get us into the MAC white because we have a young team. We accomplished everything that we wanted to accomplish in the blue, and we did it decisively at 7-1-2. So now it's time for new goals and new challenges. So right now, I'm trying to get us up into the MAC white. If we get to the MAC white, the goal is to win the MAC white. But if we stay in the MAC blue, it's to go undefeated in the MAC blue. You always have to create new tasks and challenges. So instead of being 7-1-2, go 10-0-0. This is my main one, and I want this more than I want a division title. Cousino has never won a district title in Cousino soccer history. That is what I want to achieve next year, is to win that district title. This year, we had a very good chance at doing that, and we fell short against Lakeview, and I've been in contact with a bunch of the kids, and they're up at Cousino working their butts off still. That pain that they felt that night, that's going to create a whole different beast for them. And sometimes, in order to fail, or in order, let me rephrase that, in order to succeed, you need to fail. You know, so we're going to work our way back up, and we're going to win your title next year. That's the main goal.
That's the mindset to have. Exactly. Sometimes, again, failures can create successes, and you have to allow it. And that's exactly the mindset to have. Congratulations on all your success for your first year. Second year, again, you're bringing back experience. There's a lot more that you can even succeed more than what you already have. You're on the right path. Jordan Wilczak, head coach, varsity boys soccer at Cousino High School, Warren. Thank you so much for taking the time, sir. I'm sure we'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you for having me.